songs like Neon Moon and Boot Scoot. And
Oh, yeah.
next album, Hard Working Man and Used to Be Mine. Ronnie just had written all these great songs by itself, which, now I can't even tell you.
Brooks and Amp, Dunn are saying goodbye, and not in the way fans ever expected. Ronnie Dunn's deeply concerning health diagnosis has stirred a wave of emotions, especially after a moment at their Indianapolis show that left thousands in stunned silence. Ronnie Dunn has been battling some serious health hurdles. And yet, Brooks and Amp, Dunn still managed to shine in the world of country music. But what's happening now? It's bigger than a tour. It's a moment fans won't forget. Because this isn't just any farewell, it's one rooted in honesty, courage, and grace. Stick with me until the end. Because what Ronnie shares in his final words to the fans, it'll knock the wind right out of you. Let's rewind to that unforgettable night in Indianapolis. April 3, 2025. Gainbridge Fieldhouse is absolutely alive. The air's buzzing. The fans, fired up. It's nostalgia, it's excitement, it's everything you'd hope for in a Brooks and Amp, Dunn show. Cowboy boots tapping, people shouting every lyric. That unmistakable country magic, it was thick in the air. You know how their music wraps around you like an old friend. That's what it felt like, until it didn't. As the night wore on, something subtle crept in. A shift, an undercurrent of concern, and no one saw it coming. Now, let's talk about that moment. Yeah, the one replayed a million times on TikTok. It happened during the encore. You know encores, the part where the energy peaks and everyone loses their minds. They launch into Boot Scootin' Boogie. And let's be honest, after years off the road, this comeback tour, that song is the heartbeat of every dance floor in America. The crowd goes wild, phones up, voices raised, everyone lost in the rhythm. Then, mid-song, Ronnie Dunn does something unexpected. Yes, that Ronnie Dunn, a living legend. He steps away from the mic and says, "Sing it if you know it." At first, it felt like he was hyping up the fans. But then, he turns to Kix, makes a subtle hand gesture, almost like, "I'm done." Then taps his chest, slowly. His face said it all. No words, just emotion. He shook his head, quietly disappointed, and waved goodbye. No big send-off, no lights dimming, just a quiet, soul-shaking exit in the middle of their most iconic song. What if we told you one of country music's most beloved duos is quietly bowing out, for good? And behind it all is something absolutely heartbreaking Ronnie just revealed. Is this really the end for Brooks and Amp, Dunn? Or is there something deeper happening here? Hang tight, what you're about to hear might break your heart. Because if you were paying attention earlier in the night, there were clues. Subtle ones, but there. Ronnie wasn't his usual self. During Rock My World, Little Country Girl, he sat down on the risers. That's not like him. We're talking about a guy who's owned the stage for decades, even in his 60s. But that night, he looked tired. Like deep, worn down tired. Fans noticed. Social media lit up. People said he seemed short of breath. Some caught his voice cracking on the high notes. And when Ronnie's voice cracks, fans know something's wrong. That voice isn't just famous, it's iconic. One fan even posted a clip that went viral. And despite all that, in true country fashion, the show didn't stop. Kix Brooks, absolute pro that he is, stepped up without missing a beat. As Ronnie slipped off stage, Kix carried the moment, steady and strong. The music kept going, the crowd kept clapping. That's brotherhood, that's trust, that's decades of standing side by side. Naturally, speculation exploded. Is Ronnie sick? Is this a farewell? What's really going on? And can you blame fans for asking? When a giant like Ronnie quietly exits the spotlight, it shakes people. Because it's not just about the music. It's about the man behind it. The voice behind your first heartbreak. The soundtrack to your road trips and summer nights. So when USA Today finally got a statement from their camp, fans were glued to it. The representative said Ronnie was recovering. And sure, that helped. Some. But anyone who saw it live, or watched the video online, knows this is bigger than a cold. That kind of exhaustion, it doesn't come from a long week. It comes from something deeper. And even though he powered through the next stop on tour, hearts were still heavy. Because now fans are asking, are we watching the end of an era? One moment you're dancing to My Maria, the next you're watching a legend walk off stage, looking like he just can't give anymore. And that hits hard. Because Ronnie Dunn has always been the strong, steady one. The Rock. Seeing him that vulnerable, it was like watching your favorite uncle hang up his boots. You get it, but it still hurts. The whispers around Ronnie's health are only getting louder. Fans aren't just looking up tour dates. They're asking the real question, should there be more shows? Because legends deserve rest. We've seen what happens when stars ignore the signs. Maybe now's the time to bow out gracefully. And no matter what happens next, that night in Indianapolis will be remembered, not for the music, but for the moment. The moment Ronnie Dunn reminded us that even icons have limits. And that's not weakness, that's strength. Because sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is step back. And let the love carry you through. So yes, the night started with boots stomping, but it ended with something deeper. Respect, loyalty, humanity, and honestly, isn't that what country music is all about? And just when you think Ronnie Dunn couldn't possibly have more on his plate, let's rewind a bit. Because a few months before all that respiratory chaos, Ronnie went through something else, major knee replacement surgery in December 2024. And how did that happen? Classic Ronnie, he was out skiing at his Colorado vacation home, because of course he was, and caught an edge on some ice. Bam, full ACL tear. Total wipeout. Can this man catch a break? That injury put him straight into surgery, followed by an intense 8-week rehab. The recovery was brutal. At first, he could barely walk, let alone rock a stage. But this is Ronnie Dunn we're talking about. Old school, classic cowboy tough. He refused to cancel. Even with physical therapy sessions stacked into his schedule, he kept the Reboot 2 tour rolling. Fans started to notice. He leaned heavily on his right leg, used rises for support, and worked every angle he could to just keep the show alive. That's not just commitment, that's heart. But here's where things get even tougher. All these physical setbacks, they've taken a toll on the one thing fans always counted on, his voice. You know that voice. Deep, soulful, unmistakable. But recently, vocal coaches and music critics alike have picked up on the changes. They're subtle, but real. They say his breathing's different now. The long, soaring notes. Not quite as effortless anymore. That's hard to hear, because for someone who built a career on the power of that voice, those changes hit deep. So Ronnie's been adjusting, rearranging songs, simplifying melodies, trying to protect what he's got left. And backstage, the sound engineers are working overtime, tweaking levels and boosting support so he doesn't have to strain so much. If you've seen a recent show or caught clips online, you've probably noticed it. During Neon Moon, or My Maria, there's this subtle strain, like he's fighting to get through the chorus. And really, who could blame him? The guy's weathered COVID, strep throat, and knee surgery all in the span of a few months. That would slow anyone down, even someone half his age. Now the questions are starting to swirl. Is Ronnie Dunn seriously sick? Is this more than just a string of bad luck? Fans aren't just curious anymore, they're concerned. Industry insiders are buzzing, too, whispering about whether this string of setbacks might signal something bigger, something final. Is Ronnie thinking about stepping back, for good? And let's be honest, that's a fair question. How long can someone keep pushing through this kind of pain before something finally gives? But what gets me, more than anything, is this. Ronnie hasn't made a fuss. No press conferences, no social media rants, no woe is me moments. He just keeps showing up, quietly, humbly, doing the work, giving fans every ounce he's got left in the tank. And in a world full of spectacle, that kind of quiet grit, it's powerful, it's rare, it's beautiful. Even as his body begs for rest, he keeps lacing up those boots, keeps walking out onto that stage. Not for glory, but for the people who've stood by him all these years. Ronnie Dunn was always the strong, silent type. So when news of a tragic diagnosis finally broke, fans were gutted, shaken. Could this be the real reason Brooks and Dunn are finally stepping away? Could this be the end of the road? And the fan reaction, it's been nothing short of overwhelming. You think you know how this story ends, but trust me, what's happening behind the scenes goes even deeper. What fans are doing now, it's surprising everyone. Don't look away, this is the part you have to see. Because when the crowd found out what really happened, the entire country music world hit pause. Within hours of Ronnie's sudden exit in Indianapolis, concern swept like wildfire. 1 second he was performing. The next, he made a quiet motion to his band, something wasn't right. And just like that, he was gone. No big announcement, no explanation, just a ghost note hanging in the air. It was one of those moments that doesn't just fade. It echoes, especially in a world where everything's online in seconds. And really, who wouldn't be worried? This is Ronnie Dunn, not just a voice, the voice. The one that soundtracked your road trips, your breakups, your first dances, your summer nights on the porch. He's not just part of country music. He's part of your story. And just like you'd expect, social media exploded, but not in the way you're probably thinking. No toxic takes, no wild gossip spirals. Well, okay, maybe a little of that. But what really stood out? The love, a flood of it. Fans from every corner of the country, some who were at the show, others who just saw the clips, rushed into the comments like they were checking on a family member. Brooks and Amp, Dunn's Instagram turned into a virtual prayer circle. Forget promo posts, this was wall-to-wall support. Kind, heartfelt messages like, sending love and healing thoughts your way, and praying Ronnie feels better soon, were everywhere. And here's the thing, you could feel the sincerity in every single word. Then came the longer messages. The ones that make you stop scrolling, that hit you in the chest. One person wrote, praying for you, Ronnie. Hope you get better soon. Another, feel better, Ronnie. With a full line of emojis and exclamation points that somehow said it all. This wasn't just about a show. This was about a human connection. Ronnie Dunn has been in people's lives for decades. His music helped raise them. He was there for the weddings, the heartbreaks, the road trips, the porch nights. So when he stumbled, even just a little, it hit hard. And then, it got even more personal. Fans who were at the Indianapolis concert started chiming in, sharing what they saw, and how it made them feel. One fan wrote, "You guys were awesome last night in Indy. First time seeing you all live and it was a dream come true. Looked like Ronnie was sick near the end, hope he gets better soon." That's love wrapped in gratitude. Not complaints, not criticism, just a deep respect for what the duo gave that night, even under pressure. And this wasn't just one or two voices, it was dozens. Fans echoing the same thing. We saw the struggle, and we're still with you. That level of devotion, it's rare, and it says a lot about who Ronnie and Kix are, not just as performers, but as people. But if you thought Instagram was emotional, wait until we talk TikTok. Because that platform blew up. The clip that set it off came from country radio host Matt Malone. He posted a video capturing Ronnie's emotional moment, telling the crowd, "Sing it if you know it," then gesturing to his guitarist like, "I'm done. Take it from here." That video hit 86,000 likes and counting. It instantly became the epicenter of the Ronnie conversation. And seriously, imagine being in that crowd, watching a living legend push through, only to realize mid-song that something was really wrong. It sticks with you. What made it even more emotional were the small things. Ronnie tapping his chest, that gentle wave, walking off stage with zero drama, just grace, dignity, almost like he didn't want anyone to worry. But of course, that made people worry even more. Another viral clip showed him sitting on the edge of the stage earlier in the night, visibly uncomfortable. His posture, his face, he just wasn't himself. TikTok basically became an impromptu support group overnight. Hashtags like hashtag pray for Ronnie, hashtag Brooks and Dunn forever, and hashtag Ronnie Strong started flooding the feed. Fans swapped updates, theories, memories, and, most of all, encouragement. But not all the comments were full of dread. Thank goodness for that. In the middle of the worry, a few fans shared glimpses of hope. One person said, "He played Peoria the next night and absolutely crushed it. He's fine." And that one comment, it probably kept 1,000 fans from going full meltdown. It shifted the whole tone, just a bit. It's wild how one note of hope can calm the noise. People clung to that update, praying it meant Ronnie was truly okay. But the whispers didn't stop. You had people asking things like, did Brooks and Amp Dunn break up? Or, is Ronnie Dunn retiring? And yeah, that got dramatic fast. But underneath it all, it wasn't just curiosity, it was care. Because Ronnie Dunn isn't just a country star. He's someone people feel like they know. His voice isn't just on the radio. It's a thread in their lives. So when something's off, even for a few minutes on stage, it sends shockwaves. Massive ones. And in those ripples, what we saw wasn't hysteria or chaos. It was love, concern, loyalty, the kind of feelings that make people stop scrolling to write a comment, say a prayer, or share a memory. Because that's what Ronnie Dunn means to them. Maybe it was just a bad night. Maybe exhaustion or the tail end of an illness. Whatever it was, the outpouring of love proved one thing. Fans will always show up for Ronnie Dunn. And honestly, isn't that beautiful? So, what's next for Brooks and Amp Dunn? You've probably already seen the headlines, right? Stuff like, Brooks and Amp Dunn say goodbye after Ronnie's tragic diagnosis. Talk about a heart drop. People freaked out, thinking this was the end of the road for one of country music's most iconic duos. And honestly, that reaction makes total sense. After all, their music has been the soundtrack to so many lives for decades. But before we spiral into panic mode, let's take a breath. Because thankfully, the real story isn't nearly as grim as it's been made out to be. Actually, it's kind of comforting, and, in a weird way, inspiring. Here's the tea: Ronnie Dunn wasn't doing great after that Indianapolis show. Fans noticed. His energy seemed low, his voice wasn't hitting the usual sweet spots. And then, boom, he stepped away from the stage. Naturally, people assumed the worst. When someone like Ronnie, who's been so consistent for decades, takes a sudden break, how can fans not worry? But here's the good news. Thank goodness for it. Their publicist quickly put out a clear, calming statement that shut down all the swirling rumors, and honestly, we needed that clarity. They said Ronnie's been resting and is doing much better now. The issue was respiratory related but not life-threatening at all. Doesn't that feel like a weight lifted? How many of us were holding our breath, fearing the worst? The statement reassured everyone that after proper downtime and treatment, Ronnie's bouncing back just fine. The doctors are happy with his recovery. And most importantly, the man himself is feeling a lot better. Is he still on the mend? Yes. But is this some tragic farewell? Absolutely not. Because sometimes, we forget that even legends are human. They've been grinding for nearly 40 years. 40 years. That's a lifetime. Isn't it kind of incredible they're still out there doing it? The best part, the tour isn't going anywhere. The Reboot 2 tour, yes, the one fans across North America are pumped for, is still on. No cancellations, no drama, just two legends adjusting things a bit and keeping the music alive. The tour will roll on strong through November 2025, which is amazing news for anyone planning to catch a show. Can you imagine the heartbreak if they pulled the plug? But no, they're not going out like that. And let's be real, Brooks and Dunn have never been the type to let a little bump in the road slow them down. They've weathered bigger storms. This is just a pause. A deep breath before the next big note. Behind the scenes, they're being smart. Set lists are trimmed just enough to give Ronnie needed breathers, without losing the magic. Extra backup vocalists have been brought in, adding new layers of harmony. And staging has been adjusted so Ronnie gets more space to rest between those high energy numbers. These little tweaks show just how much they care, not just about the show, but about each other. Isn't that the kind of bond we all want in life? And here's what's really impressive. Instead of hiding the struggle or pretending everything's fine, they owned it. They took care of Ronnie, reassured fans, made the necessary changes, and kept moving forward. That's not just professionalism, that's heart. That's the legacy these guys are building. Not just hits and sold-out shows, but resilience, honesty, and pure love for the craft. Isn't that why artists like them become legends? So, if you were stressed or heartbroken thinking Brooks and Dunn were saying goodbye forever, you can unclench. Ronnie's okay. He's getting better every day. The tour's rolling on, and those boots, oh, they're definitely still made for walking. Right onto the stage, spotlight on, guitars blazing. It's not goodbye, just a small pause. And when they come back full throttle, it's going to hit even harder. Because if there's one thing Brooks and Dunn have always been about, it's giving fans a damn good show, no matter what. What in the world happened to Brooks and Dunn? 1 minute, they're lighting up the stage like always, and the next, Ronnie's heartbreaking diagnosis has fans in tears, asking if this is the end for good. But before you assume it's all over, stick around. Because the truth behind what's next might just surprise you, in the best way possible. After decades in the country game, hits, tours, awards, you'd think these legends might be thinking about slowing down. Maybe buying a ranch in Montana, chilling with guitars and whiskey on a porch. Well, surprise, not even close. Word on the street, and by street, I mean trusted insiders, is that Brooks and Dunn aren't hanging up their hats anytime soon. They just renewed their recording contract. Can you believe that? At this stage of their careers, when most folks are thinking rocking chairs, they're doubling down on the music. And about Ronnie Dunn, his name's been buzzing lately, but not for reasons fans wanted. Is Ronnie Dunn sick? Yes, he's been battling health issues. But here's what really tugs at your heart. He's still showing up. Pushing through, probably when most people would have called it quits. One insider close to the duo said, he's not in his 30s anymore. He's in his 70s, performing night after night. That's no walk in the park, no matter how many years of experience you have. But even with all that, these guys aren't pulling the plug. Those rumors about a farewell tour, totally unfounded. Maybe folks saw Ronnie slow down a bit or heard about the Indianapolis incident and panicked. Sure, that moment was a wake-up call. It reminded everyone that being on stage, under the lights, adrenaline pumping, thousands watching, it takes a toll. Especially when your body doesn't bounce back like it used to. But here's the thing, neither Ronnie nor Kix is ready to say goodbye. They're just being smarter about how they do things now. It's less about burning themselves out and more about pacing everything in a way that keeps them, and their fans, happy and healthy. And let's be real for a second. Can you blame Ronnie for not wanting to let people down? That kind of loyalty to fans, it's rare. He could easily take a step back, disappear for a bit, and people would still love him. But no, he keeps showing up. He keeps singing. He keeps giving his all, even when his body might be saying, hey, maybe take a break. That kind of commitment, that's not just professionalism, that's heart. That's someone who truly loves what he does and knows how much it means to the people who followed Brooks and Amp. Done from the very beginning, from the boot scootin' boogie days to now. So, what's the plan going forward? Honestly, it looks like more music, more shows, and more memories. Just maybe at a slightly more mindful pace. And you know what? That's okay. Actually, it's more than okay, it's admirable. Because who says legends have to go out with one final bang? Maybe they just keep going. Maybe they just keep showing up, song after song, tour after tour, moment after moment, because they love it and because their fans still show up too, year after year. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.